I was going to ask you about that.
We'll touch on that in a bit. You want to go ahead and roll some music here?
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Shiftless. Host, Chef Brad Green, co-piloted by Kevin Lee with the Spinistry.
All it took was you leaving the state.
I tell you.
And my backyard feels amazing.
I don't know how much of that banter we're going to leave in, but we're doing a remote podcast for the first time in a while. But kind of getting what you see there, Brad?
Oh, my rope lights are disconnected. I just now noticed it.
Shiny.
Yeah, sorry. I'm super ADD. I don't even have ADHD. I just have ADD.
just the D.
Yeah.
Well, that's what everyone says about Brad. Just the D.
Just the D.
But I'm in Florida at my folks' house and doing the remote podcast thing. Not hanging out on the patio of Chateau de Green. And
don't worry.
Oh, I'm very worried. I am so jealous at the moment.
You're not missing anything.
Oh, kiss my ass.
It's a pleasant break, but however, it looks like we're going to be like 108 tomorrow.
Yeah, it's kicking back in tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it's short-lived.
Understood.
But nevertheless, it was a great ride at North Shore last night.
I bet it was.
Good crew. It's the first time I've been in, like a 10-person line of single speeders in a while. I say single speeders. There was a couple of Garys mixed in.
Oh, those damn Garys.
Yeah. But we were plagued with mechanicals. But other than that, it was good times. We had a drop chain and then a flat tire that just wouldn't seal, and it became a nightmare. But we got through it.
Very nice. Well, let's take care of housekeeping on the front end just so we don't forget about it. One thing I definitely wanted to touch on is on our quest for nationwide domination. We've clicked a couple more off. Hawaii and New Hampshire are now into the fold.
Poor Hawaii, man.
Man,
that's insane.
Well, but correct. I haven't seen all the details on it, but correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it was one pretty isolated area, right? It's not like it was wiping out a huge area. It was, but I just kept seeing everything related to the one town.
Lanai. I can't say it, but yes, yeah.
Okay. Not to diminish the tragedy. I don't want it to sound like that at all. But it's not like when all of Colorado was on fire and all of New Mexico was. It is very true. A little bit of a different. But
all the circumstances surrounding it seem like really, really wild. Like there wasn't a single fire responder. They didn't sound any alarms. There was all kinds of wild stuff that I'm hearing that I don't know how much of it's true.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of anecdotal stuff. Like I said, I haven't dug into it yet.
Yeah.
I definitely do plan to. The surface scratch of it seems like it's just so far outside the norm that all of these pieces that came together were all individual pieces that weren't even under consideration, and then you put all of them together at one time, and it's just bonkers.
Perfect storm.
I didn't want to use that cliche, but it really is, isn't it?
Well, when you have all those elements come together,
yeah.
I mean, that's what I think of.
We need to come up with a different tagline for that.
Yeah.
The perfect Brad or something like that. I don't know, but
The Ford Storm
but
doesn't quite work.
Hawaii's on board. New Hampshire's on board. We're still missing Mississippi.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. And I was driving through Mississippi on the way here, saw a couple gravel bikes on bike racks and stuff like that, and it's like, man,
That's promising. Yeah.
what have we done to piss off Mississippi?
Huh. Hey, I was doing some, but before we get off the fact of listenership, I was just being nerdy and going through Spotify the other day because I was actually looking at another podcast that I listened to, and I noticed when I clicked on the episode that people were able to leave comments on the episode. Um, so that took me to look at all of our episodes, and for some reason, I don't get any notifications. But I noticed that there were 3 or 4 comments. All of them were one-offs, but on individual episodes. So I thought that was kind of cool. But one of them that comes to mind particularly said, "Take Iowa off your list. We're listening in Iowa." So
Very
shout
cool.
out to Iowa,
Thank you, Iowa.
the
We
tall corn state.
yeah we and that's what I touched on. So hey, actually, that's a nice little segue there. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Bradford. Oh wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
no, just Brad. I haven't earned the Ferd.
However you care, brother. However you care.
But for those that are wanting to message us and fill us in, we definitely appreciate comments on the different podcast platforms. Definitely when you have the ability to give us that 4 or 5 or whatever the top of the peak rating is, that's greatly appreciated. It's really difficult for us to keep track of all those different platforms and see those comments and things like that. Um, Feel free to reach out to us directly via email.
At shiftlesslive at gmail.com.
Boom! Well, that deserves a Bradford right there.
I finally got it. The world's going to be okay.
So I think we're down to Mississippi and the Dakotas
Oh,
now.
what did we secured Alaska?
I think we did. Maybe not.
Oh,
Maybe not. Maybe not.
okay.
Look, I'm not going to dig around in it right now.
That's fair.
Maybe Alaska's still. So we'll assume Alaska's there, and we'll talk about it differently next week if needed. So definitely Mississippi, definitely the Dakotas, and Montana,
Mhm.
and maybe Alaska. So 5 sounds about right. But and you know, at one of these junctures, you'll go off in one of your monologues, and maybe I'll dig around in while you're chattering
Monologue.
away. You
It's
know,
not monologue.
you don't know, you don't have any monologues.
Speaking of Montana, uh, there were quite a few Montucky cold snacks spotted at the Ray Porter Memorial Race this past weekend.
There were what?
Have you not had a Montucky cold snack?
I have no idea what
It's a
that is.
it's a beer.
But
Think of it.
Montucky?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what
it's a
they're called.
brand of beer or?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Um, cool can. It's a very dare I say entry level yellow fizzy beer. A la Lone Star.
And
Um,
Montucky's the brewer?
uh, I think so.
Okay. Just
You're
no,
gonna ask me
no,
difficult
no. This
questions.
this is a revelation to me at this point.
No, but you should see their can design. It's pretty epically 80s. Um, but I think they're from Montana. I don't know. But then again, the second part of the word makes me think maybe they're from Kentucky. But I don't know what those two states have to do with each other either.
Yeah, and
So,
maybe that's the marketing ploy. People want to dig
yeah.
around. What's the origins of this? Where does it come from? So how did Ray Porter go? What were the highlights from that?
The highlights and the lowlights, it was
I'm
hot.
about to say I'm going to
Hot.
guess the
Hot.
lowlights were it was hotter than hell.
Yes, it for sure was. Um, we had 190 signups, which was really good. Um, I cooked 60 pounds of bacon that was handed out, and then we cooked a pork belly, smoked a pork belly. I think we had 100 pounds of pulled pork. Um, the race went as smooth as I've ever seen it go. Um, there was a super stud out there on a drop bar fixed gear that was just smoking. Not smoking ciggies, but just burning up the course.
Smoking
He,
fast.
yeah. Well, relentless it seemed. Um, saw Jeremy Ordaz, which was also always a pleasure. He's such
Very
a nice
nice.
guy. Um, no surprise, Hocamp won the single speed category. I think he turned 9 laps. I don't know what the most laps recorded were, um, but I only saw one person in like any kind of like real dire situation, and he was assisted pretty quickly and put in front of a fan and given fluids and looked after, and then I saw him probably 30, 45 minutes later and he was fine. So I had anticipated seeing more people in trouble because of the heat. I mean, it was oppressive, but I will tell you we were graced with a beautiful breeze the majority of the day and evening. I got out there about 12:30, and I didn't leave until it was probably 11:45. And there were a lot of people like disappearing into cars to cool off and going in and out of campers and whatever. And it was offered to me quite a few times, and I was like, I don't want to cheat myself. I'd rather just stick it out. But I also made a vow to I didn't drink a drop of anything besides Gatorades, waters, and Waterloos until the sun went down, and I was pounding water.
Yeah.
It was just it was a lot. I, I I don't see how somebody goes out and rides in that and just these guys were screaming. What's his name? Pololi.
Michael.
Um, Michael Pololi. He was turning like I think his first lap was right at 30 minutes. I
No.
mean, they were screaming.
Well,
They're not.
they weren't doing a full lap.
No, it's. I think the lap was seven
Okay.
miles.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I mean, it was impressive. Those guys were burning, burning. Um, it was a good turnout.
Good.
Good,
Just
good
to
spectators and everything.
just for
Nice to.
those that like Tracy in Wisconsin and things like that. Give the overview of what we're talking about when we say the Ray Porter. What is the Ray Porter? How does it work? What's it for? Who does it remember?
So our good buddy Ray Porter, who was a local legend before Strava even thought about
Creating that
bring, yeah,
tag.
creating that term, yeah. Um, who did the Tour Divide back
First person I
before?
ever knew of that even thought about doing
Yes,
the Tour Divide. First Tour Divide
yeah,
stories I ever heard were from Ray.
yeah. And I felt like I was a nuisance to him because every time I talked to him, I'm like, oh, I was always asking him something else about. I forgot to ask you about this. Sorry about that. But he came down with prostate cancer, and it was a very quick demise. And so he was a big pig, which is who I've affiliated with, and Rich Seichi, who is Big Pig, decided we needed a Big Pig Cancer Foundation, and to help out local cyclists that are encumbered with the burdens of cancer, not just the sickness, but financial burdens. So we started doing fundraisers, and our Ray Porter Memorial Race is our number one event of the year. It's our flagship cancer foundation fundraising, and we raised. The numbers are still getting tallied, but I think we raised 30K this year, which is pretty awesome.
Hold on.
Between
Let me see if I
donations.
get this right. Hold on a second.
Hmm.
Maybe not. Try this one more time. Wait a minute. No, wrong one. We'll edit this properly. There we go. That's what I was shooting for.
uh, um,
Excellent job to all of my
man,
big pig friends.
it was pretty epic, man, and it's the smoothest I've seen that event run. You know, there didn't seem to be every time you run an event that big, and you know better than I do, there's always like, oh shit, we forgot this. Like, can somebody run down here and block off the road, or can you go set up this water table, or whatever it is
Sure.
on your side? We didn't have any of those moments that I was aware of. We had more than enough hands on staff. So there were literally people with nothing to do going, what can I do? And so you'd be like, you can do this. So it was really nice. I guess the main takeaway was we didn't have people that were trying to multitask, doing multiple things across
Mm-hmm.
the entire thing.
Yeah.
Tyler and I headed up the cooking aspects. Tyler did way more than I did. Um, but we made smash burgers too. Did Blackstone smash burgers. Those were a hit. The only reason we didn't make more is because we ran out of ground beef. We were doing Oklahoma style smash burgers, so shaved onions pressed into the patty, flipped, griddled, cheese, bun. Have a nice day.
Dude, I haven't
Over.
had breakfast yet. You're killing me.
Oh, sorry, buddy. I haven't either. Um, but it's also not 12 o'clock here.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, it's. Oh, I'm looking at my computer clock. It says it's only 10, but well, that's. Yeah, it's 11 here.
Yeah.
So,
Uh huh.
all good. Well, excellent. I am very glad to hear that that went over so well. And for those that are listening, and maybe this was new to them and they weren't aware of the Big Pig Cancer Foundation, they are a year-round effort. They are a year-round foundation. It's not just the Ray Porter event that man, they're after it all the time, and
Yeah.
they've helped out unfortunately a lot of my friends. So
Yeah.
it's a good cause. If you're listening and you're curious, just whip out the Googleizer, search for Big Pig Cancer Foundation. You'll find their website, their Facebook page, and all that good stuff. And maybe plan to join us in Texas for some Oklahoma smash burgers next year, sort of thing.
Yeah. I was thinking about talking to Tyler about doing a cancer foundation pop up. You know, where we just slang burgers one day. Like maybe at another event or something. Um, but to boost our fundraising,
Well,
because we have so many people that are in need. Um, you know, I don't want to name names, but
no,
our cycling community seems to it ebbs and it flows. But we have a lot of people that are affected with cancer right now, and
yeah,
it's sad.
this isn't one of those intangible things for us. It's helping out our friends, and that's a big deal to me.
Yeah,
I mean, the open invitation is always there. Big Pigs have stepped up and collaborated with us at Spinistry events along the way a few times. And anytime you guys want, it works into your schedules, you want to do a pop up on site, we will greatly encourage people to buy some smash burgers or barbecue or whatever else. It's always an open invitation, but also never an expectation on my end.
yeah.
I understand everybody's lives are busy. Sometimes the paths just don't cross at the right time.
Speaking of busy, it's about to get crazy busy for me.
How
We're
so?
gonna have just September and October are gonna be ludicrous. I'm doing my first retreat this weekend. I actually go out tomorrow. This is a long one. It's 4 days: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'll be coming back on Sunday from Forsberg. So and then I have a dinner following weekend. I still have 4 spots left.
Okay. Which weekend is that?
The final weekend of August. I forget the date. 26th. I haven't. I need to bump it. I'll bump it again today when I get off the this podcast.
Maybe,
But
maybe. I
but
just officially pulled the plug. Well, I pulled the plug with the rental. I need to actually pull the plug on the event on Over the Top yesterday.
yeah,
There's just too much. I don't even know where I'm going to be next week at this point.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we took that off the table. But
How
hold, hold on, hold
1984 is
on.
calling.
We're not going to go there.
I'm sorry. I make myself giggle.
You make the world giggle, Bradford.
How
Now
are your folks, by the way?
they're good. They're good.
Yeah.
They're good. The kind of lost track there, but the one thing I did want to touch on,
Hmm.
bounce this off you and see what your thoughts are. I think we kind of touched on it a little bit when we had lunch that one day. Um, Shiftless is it's a podcast about a lot of things, but at the core of it is bicycles and cycling and so
Hmm.
forth. And when we first kicked this off, the idea was, we're going to shoot the shit and come across things that we're idiots about and try to bring in experts on those topics. And we've had a little bit of success with that. And when we can find those experts, it's always good content and a good show. But the more, at least my experience so far has been, when we do come across those topics and we try to find experts on stuff, the reality is there's not a lot of experts out there on a lot of these topics. There are product specialists, there are
Yeah.
marketing gurus, there are influencers, but very rarely have I been able to come across an objective expert on topics that.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not. It's not that the people aren't willing to give a well-rounded view of things, but generally speaking, if you're going to have to reach out to XYZ product to get feedback on their industry, obviously they're going to be coming from a position that is more knowledgeable on
Naturally
their
biased.
products than
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
competition, or they may not be as forthcoming about their pains with the competition and things like that.
Yeah.
See what your thoughts are on this. I'm thinking something along the lines of, hey, you know what? If we come up with a topic that we both agree this needs a little bit more in-depth analysis, well, maybe we make ourselves the experts going forward. Where something comes up, it's like, well, I'm going to go back to. I still have not been able to find the right expert for water filtration and water treatment and backcountry water sourcing and things like that. So I think I'm just going to probably just take it under my wing and do a deep dive on that. Not that I'll have all that information in the next week, but
Yeah.
if somewhere down the road it's like, you know what, Brad, here's what I found out about all of this backcountry water stuff over time, and
It
may,
seems it seems like a microbiologist could help us with filtration. I mean,
well, okay,
that
can you find that
seems like
microbiologist for me?
I'm sure. I'm sure there's somebody at UNT
They're probably in Montana, and they just haven't listened to our podcast yet.
or Alaska. Hmm.
So, well, and I'm all ears. If people have sources for this information, point me in the right direction.
Yeah.
I've spent as much time trying to find and reach out and not hear back from, or no, I'm not the right person to talk to you about it, or I can't talk. I've spent more time chasing that around for that particular topic than if I would have just researched it myself. I may not
Yeah.
be the expert, but at least I would have a higher
Someone that
level
knows
of
more than
understanding than I currently do, and I could share some of that.
yeah. Speaking of, I was talking to Carl, our buddy Carl, that was freshly back from Ragbri. Um, and I guess he's the first person I've talked to extensively about Ragbri that wasn't just there just to party. But he said it was insane. I did not realize how many people
Oh, it's
were there.
huge.
Yeah, he said it makes
Tens of
hotter than hell.
thousands.
Yeah, he said it makes hotter than hell look like nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, just hearing him talk about the start and stop every day and how it's just a sea of tents and campers and support vehicles and stuff. He said there was like 30 or 40,000 people. I
Yes.
mean, it's seems insane. I want to go and do that next year. I think
Well, go do it,
it's.
man.
I know. I mean, I just it seems like. But part of me thinks I don't want to be around that many people. You know.
Oh, every bit of me
But
says I don't want to be around
yeah,
that many people.
because because I still remember and not to. Well, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, but hotter than hell. The one and only time I've ever done it, it was just like, who the hell are all these people? And then I would I would find people at rest stops that I'm like, how in the heck did you get here before I did? You know, they were like just straight up newbies and like jean shorts and shit, and I'm like, what is going on? And it just seems like it just brought out everybody. Once again, I'm happy to see people on bikes, but there's some of those people that just um, probably shouldn't have been out trying to ride 100 miles. I had people at like the second or third checkpoint just cramping up, falling on the ground in front of me, like almost taking me out.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what are we doing here? So I imagine if you multiply that times two or three, there's even more
Take
of
that.
that. So,
Take that at an exponential level
mm-hmm.
for the other one, and
Yeah.
yeah, that is a.
Recipe for disaster.
No, I wouldn't take it that far, but it is a point of consideration
Mm-hmm.
where it's just it's the same as if you're going to a mountain bike trail, and what type of trail and obstacles should I plan to deal with when you go to an event like that. You definitely need to plan to overcome the obstacle of people that you're sharing the road with, that their skill set is considerably less than what you might be used to riding around.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That was
Well,
the only aspect that kind of I'm like, But that's what happens when you throw a big party and you put cycling in it. You know, I can only imagine that it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's growing,
it
and
it grows. It does grow stuff. So that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. I don't want to sound like a negative ninny about it, because that's not the direction I'm going with it. It's
yeah,
my own personal comfort. I mean that's what happened to me at my last major event. I got taken out by an idiot. Is what happened, and it was eye opening for me in that, from a promoter's perspective, of that's outside my comfort zone as both a writer and a promoter. But that's for my purposes. I get it that people want to do these huge events that are surrounded by thousands of people. That makes a lot of sense.
um, yeah. I'm not speaking ill of the event. I'm
Uh,
more than intrigued with
I'm
it.
not. I'm
From what
not.
I
That's why
yeah,
I'm trying to make
yeah,
that as plain as possible. I am not
yeah,
against big events by any
yeah.
stretch of the imagination, and I get why people do want to. That makes all the sense in the world to me, for people that want to be in that sort of, uh, just the crowd, the excitement, the buzz. I get all of that tremendously.
Yeah, it seems like a hell of a community
Hey,
too, and I know
Lucky.
Lucky's here. But it seems like a heck of a community. And then I know just from my limited riding in Iowa, they have beautiful roads and um, tons of breweries. I mean, just like almost everywhere else in the United States now, you have people that are poking up with craft breweries, and unlike the first breweries that began to pop up, it seems like a lot of people are getting it right, or at least doing a better job now than they ever have. It's kind of like our same analogy with barbecue shops. Used to there'd be one every so often, and now they're everywhere, and it seems like most of them are doing a somewhat decent job. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I think we're gonna have to verify that, quite frankly, because
yeah.
our most recent experience doesn't support that.
You know what? I'll tell you. I took the leftovers from said place and made some stir fried rice the other night with it.
Okay,
Diced it up really nice, and it was very good.
I can see that.
It worked out really well. So it didn't go to waste, but and it was repurposed in a good manner.
I
So
get it. I get it.
um, no, I mean, but you know, the barbecue beer thing, you know, any port in a storm kind of thing. I mean, even a decent brewery like Tups is not my favorite brewery, but they make decent beers. Is it going to be my main go to? No, but if I live close to there, would I belly up?
Sure.
Hell yeah, I would. You know,
Well, keep in mind though, we're also looking at it from the Texas perspective, where between TABC guidelines and the wholesale distributor requirements and all the Texas business stuff, our craft brewers don't have the flexibility that others
they've
in the country
they've
do.
they've they've pulled back some of that though, and they've got a little bit less restriction. Distribution's changed. I can't speak to the letter of the law, but I know um, quite a few brewers that used to not distribute. Like Turning Point comes to mind. Used to be brewery only. Like they canned and everything, but they didn't distribute.
Right. Well, and
If they
that's kind of what I'm getting at is that was when the craft brew scene here turned upside down. They thought they got concessions that were favorable to them, and the concessions they gave up themselves, the balance didn't work for a lot of the brewers because they thought they were getting more than they were, and they actually ended up put a bunch of them out of business. Is basically what happened, or with those adjustments. Not saying
tell me a
that
tell me a Texas brewery that went out of business that needed to be in business. How
Noble
come
Ray,
Four Corner?
Noble
Oh
Ray.
yeah, that's true. Noble Ray, R.I.P. They did some good stuff.
The what was
How
the
is Four Corners still open? How are they still
that
making beer?
that's I mean there's Noble Ray's gone. The what was the one that Mike Madonna and Justin
Hmm,
that one was pretty good.
I don't
Um,
even know that one.
there's several that had issues. Um, the
Adam Phillips and I had a lengthy discussion about this. If you enter into a market such as craft breweries, all you have to do is be the first one. Like think about some of the first ones to pop up in our area that are arguably not that great that are still around. They got out there, they planted the flag, and they won the hearts of the locals, and they're still cracking at it, even though they're
I was
not.
a fan of Armadillo Ale Works too. Um,
They
there's
had one good beer, maybe two on a regular basis, but I also don't like a bunch of fun. Like Martin House, not my bag.
no, I'm not a Martin House.
Um,
Are they still around?
oh yeah, they're
I thought they
they're
were.
they're
The way you said
thriving.
that, the way you said that was like they were on
No,
that list too. But I'm
no,
not.
but I was putting them in the same category as Armadillo. Armadillo made quite a few beers, but they made a lot of beers that weren't I mean, and it's just because it's not in my wheelhouse doesn't mean it's not in somebody else's, obviously. But
Yeah, there
and then
you
there's a
there you go,
brewery.
being gatekeeper Brad again. You
No,
know,
no, not at all. But it's like whatever that brewery is up in Sherman, 903, I think, or something like that.
yeah,
They make
I just saw them for the first time the other day
yeah,
for folks that were doing a ride out of it or back to it or something. I wouldn't even. Well, I don't go to Sherman very often, so.
yeah. They make a lot of like fruit smoothie beers and stouts and a lot of fruit beers and sours and stuff like that. I mean, it, I was hard pressed to find a beer that I could even consider palatable there. But there, they're doing it, and they're apparently doing okay. So,
Well, and that's I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at is the ones that have established themselves after that transition in the TABC guidelines, they set up with those guidelines, so their business model works in that environment. Some of those that were in newer and finding their legs and getting to the point, they didn't have the pieces in place for that transition. I mean, there's a lot of microbrew type stuff. Was it? There, yeah, we won't. We could go on
yeah.
for years and years.
All that to be said, are there any decent breweries around where you are?
No idea. No
Yeah.
idea. I,
Hmm.
alcohol is very low on my to-do list these days as it is. So I don't hunt them around.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, my very first craft brew was out this way. A joint on the beach. Jan and I used to go to. I think it was called Ragtimes. Uh,
Hmm.
they had a mean swordfish steak, and they had their own microbrew.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, this is long, long time ago, before craft brew was a thing. And there were a couple, there were a few restaurants here in Florida that were doing the microbrews on site that we were definitely fans of. A place called Hops. Uh,
Hmm.
John
Sounds pretty.
Sanborn and Amy and I reminisce on that every chance we get. We were all
Old JJ.
we were definitely Hops fans. Ragtimes. There was another one somewhere along the way. I may have to look up Ragtimes. Last I heard, they were
Hmm.
still around.
How long have you and Janford been married?
Oh man, you're gonna get me in trouble now.
No, I'm not. You can edit it.
No, it's 30-ish, 30, over 30.
That's impressive, dude. I can't believe she's put up with you that long.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that. There's a ton to be. Let's get back to bicycles. We're going way off on a tangent.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you see the
Love you,
news
Jan.
that All City is going away?
Yes, I did. I did. It makes me sad. But I'm also a little bit confused. I didn't read a lot about it. I thought that they're a QBP brand.
They are a QBP brand.
So, so I don't know how that structure works entirely. So I'm really ignorant to this, but I'm just gonna like go on like I normally do. So does that mean in your understanding, did they start as a company and QBP acquired them, and then they still kind of like run their own thing? They're like a production house for QBP, and if so, does QBP decide to shut them down, or does All City say, "Hey, we're not doing this anymore"? I don't know. I don't know what was their
Sure.
ultimate demise.
So I'll give my understanding, and I think I'm fairly
Mm-hmm.
accurate on this.
Okay.
So the short answer is All City. Think of All City as like Pontiac in the GM
Mm-hmm.
lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they are their own line, but they're under
Mm-hmm.
the QBP umbrella, and they always have been. Okay,
Yeah.
so all City, like Salsa, like Surly, like Foundry
Mm-hmm.
Cycles was.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a couple others out there that I'm not
Oh,
remembering
there definitely is. Yeah.
off the top of my head. So All City was originally my perception of them was they were an Econo steel bike more on the road cross side as
Yeah.
a so that's kind of what differentiated them from Surly to begin
Mm-hmm.
with. And so, they did a lot of classic steel bike styling and
Yeah.
cool lugs and stuff like that, but not over the top stuff. And it was a budget bike still.
Yeah.
Over the years, obviously with the gravel aspect of things, they started expanding the line and getting a little higher end.
Uh huh.
I mean, basically, an all city bike's going to cost you the same as a carbon bike at this point, generally speaking. So there wasn't really the price advantage anymore. I think they may have had like,
Mm.
a single speed option here and there that was still kind of bare bones, but most of their stuff, the Space Horse and or
So
what?
you think they got too big for their britches?
No, no. I think they're it's a I mean, the bicycle industry is getting crushed right now.
Yeah.
Shimano's revenues are down 18% for the first half of the year.
Mm.
That's huge, and that's
Yeah.
Shimano, where
Yeah.
everybody still has to use Shimano's stuff.
What about SRAM? Is SRAM right on board with what Shimano's doing? Is
Well, I mean,
their stock price is down?
I'm I'm sure SRAM's numbers are down as well. I'm just using Shimano
Yeah.
as the reference because that's what that's something that's is SRAM
That's
even
fair.
a publicly? I don't think SRAM's a publicly traded company, so
I
they
don't
may
know.
not have to release revenues and stuff like that.
Mm.
So you can use Shimano as an indicator of what if Shimano's being affected that much, something small like All City, their sales could have been down 50%. Okay,
Yeah.
because Shimano is plugged into every bit of the cycling industry, where All City was just its own little niche. So QBP made and they're not just pulling the plug and going, oh, this isn't, they're done, it's not out of business. They're saying it's going to be discontinued basically after their current production run. Once they sell out of what they got, they're done,
Yeah.
sort of thing. And that was a QBP call, but it's also, more than likely All City was cannibalizing from both Salsa and Surly. So, All City kind of fell in between the two of those.
Yeah.
And, it was like, you know, and I always said to begin with that I always thought all of QBP's steel stuff should just be under the Surly banner to begin with. And if they wanted to put a little bit of a higher end Surly semi-custom segment in there, or a little more race oriented Surly type line in the mix,
Mm-hmm.
that wouldn't hurt my feelings. I would still consider that Surly.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's what they're going to do, but it wouldn't surprise me if you see some of the All City models pop up under the Surly banner next year, or something that maybe does make sense to keep going with, that did stand alone from both Surly and Salsa. But that, I mean, when they tried to do the Foundry stuff a few years ago, that was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
The Foundry stuff was the first basically disc brake mass-produced cross bike out there that was a natural fit for gravel.
Yeah.
But then it was interfering too much with the Salsa stuff, so it's like, yeah, let's rein that back and keep customers on point with Salsa, sort of thing. So,
I guess that makes sense.
and hey, if we can get a conversation with somebody at QBP that tells us how stupid we are, or I am, I'm happy to have that
Actually,
conversation.
I actually have a contact at QBP.
Well, bring them up.
Okay. I will reach out to him. I mean, he's not a personal friend. I know him through a friend, but I do know that he came in town one time, and I loaned him my salsa fat bike to ride Shoreline with our buddy Thornton. And he lives, I guess he's in Minnesota. That's where QBP's out of, aren't they?
Yep.
So he was in town in Texas for whatever reason. and so I could reach out to him.
Okay.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool to talk to somebody from QBP because they have a super bird's eye view of what's going on in the cycling industry.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I don't know how forthcoming they may or may not be. I mean,
Well, I mean that's fair, but I mean,
the reputation is that QBP doesn't really readily share industry
yeah,
information, but could be wrong.
that's fair. I mean, dude, I don't want anybody's proprietary industry information. I'm just, I'm more interested in someone that is that ingrained in the cycling industry and lives, breathes, and works cycling.
Yep.
Like what's the overall thought process of like what is cycling experiencing right now? Is this something that is cyclical? Did it happen and I'm just making up numbers, but did it happen in '08? Are we going to recover from this? Like where do you see cycling in 5 years, 10 years? That kind of thing. Um, that's what I'm more interested in.
Definitely. Did you,
Um,
speaking of QBP and transitions from QBP, did you see Jay Petervary's bike that he's going to do his Great Divide
yeah,
ITT attempt on?
he's already en route, by the way.
Is it okay?
He did. I read a quick blurb about that. Yes, I did see the bike.
And the
But
just for those that may not be aware, the QBP relationship there is that bike's a custom Eskers bike, and was it Tim Eskers was the guy at I believe Salsa that went over and started Eskers.
yeah, and it looks surprisingly like a black burrow.
Yes, it does. Well, I mean, it's the same type of kind of.
Yeah. Um,
It's an
I won't.
adaptation of that.
Yeah. I mean,
An adaptation in air quotes.
if you took that frame and just made a silhouette of it, I guarantee you, if we had an overhead projector and we could overlay those
What if
two,
you
I
had
don't think.
calipers and a tape measure?
Yeah. Perhaps if I had a CAD drawing, I could just, you know, they seem remarkably
I'm sure.
similar.
I'm sure there are appropriate differences.
Yeah. But he interestingly is doing and I'm gonna mess this all up because that's what I do. But he's doing an extended version of the Tour Divide,
No, he's doing the Great Divide. He's
the
not doing
Great
the Tour
Divide.
Divide. So there's a
That's right.
there's a fundamental difference there.
He started in Jackson,
I
I
can't
think.
remember the
It's
specific,
in it's in Canada though, but
but
it's
it's what
much further north
yeah
than Banff.
what
Yeah,
it's the is it ACA Adventure
original.
Cycling Association or what the Great Divide route
Something
as
like that.
opposed to the Tour Divide route.
Yeah,
So it's the same route each time, and
yeah,
it's I'm not no, I am going to editorialize. My assumption
yeah,
is um, easy's not the right word, but a more likely situation for him to establish an ITT record than the Tour Divide route would be my guess at this point, because there hasn't been as much ITT competition for that FKT.
yes. Well, I think the thing that he was espousing about was the fact that with the Tour Divide every year, there's reroutes. The route doesn't always stay the same, whether it's for weather or
Sure,
fires
sure.
or whatever. Whereas, and I don't know why this route would be affected any less, but it is the same route every year. It doesn't have any variables. Therefore, the FKTs and all the course records and stuff should be tit for tat instead of
It's
someone, you know.
Well,
Go
it's not.
ahead.
Yeah, you're always going for the record on that route. That's ultimately
Yeah.
what it boils down to. Like there was a
Right.
really interesting. Uh, whose podcast was it? What's Payson McKelvin's with
Mm-hmm.
Lael Wilcox, and I'm in love with her. She's amazing. But anyway, that's a
Yeah.
different story. She's so fun to listen to. The they ran into that with this year's Tour Divide, evidently, and I didn't follow the Tour Divide much this year. But they can start out with the expectation that they're going for the record at Tour Divide. But if a wildfire pops up or whatever and an official reroute comes about, well, you're going for the record for that year, but you're not going for the record sort of thing.
Right.
And
Right.
so I get where Jay's coming from that standpoint, and because you can go out with the intent to set a Tour Divide record, and even if you have the pace that does it, it's not going to be the record. So at least he knows on the I've lost track. What's the other one called that's not Tour Divide? The what divide?
The Great Divide.
Great Divide. Sorry. At least he knows if he goes out attempting that record, every minute that he sees he's on that course, he knows where he stands against the record, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he knows if it's a viable record attempt or not.
But what would make him think that particular course is less affected by weather and
It's not that it's less affected. He knows if he's on the course, he's going for the record. Where you can be on the Tour Divide, you can get halfway through it and be on record pace, and something changes, and you're not going for the record because there's an official route change or something like that.
So you're saying that it's up to him to make any route changes, and as long as he
You
doesn't
don't make a
deviate
route
from the
change.
route-
No, you have to stay on the route.
That's what I was saying. But
But the Tour Divide changes the route themselves each year.
yeah,
The Great Divide route never changes.
I get it. But they still deal with the same things. I guess I'm just silly.
It's not the dealing with from the participant standpoint. It's the dealing with from the organization standpoint.
I get you.
It's not the participants that say, "Oh, we're going a different way this year." It's the organization says, "No, you're going on a different route this year." And I mean, no, I don't think they do it in the middle of the event most of the time, but they don't release the official route till a week ahead. So you're going through a year's preparation to try to do a record attempt. Oh, we're doing a different route this year, so I'm not going for a record attempt. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, I guess so. I did not realize until reading what Peterberry wrote that the route changed other than for like borderline emergencies, I mean, even I don't think they really reroute for weather that I'm aware of, because I've heard horror stories of people pushing through snow and mud, and those guys got not trapped, but stuck at whatever the lodge is because of all the mud, a couple of years back.
They have made editorial decisions year in, year out for significant reroutes. I don't know what their policies are on that. Yeah. No, it's not it's not for 4 miles of mud at mile 14 sort of reroute. It's this is 200 miles of mud or 200 miles of flooded terrain or 20 feet of snow at the pass. There's no way to get over the pass this year. We're going to go a different route, sort of thing. That again, that's my understanding. But hey, maybe we can find a true expert on the in and out of that. Maybe we can get Matt Lee to talk to us about it, or Jay Peterberry, or somebody like that, or somebody else that's involved at a higher. Or hey, maybe Lael Wilcox. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be super rad. Yeah, I'd rather talk to her than Peterberry.
Well, didn't
ironed out their
what?
differences.
Yeah. I'm not going. I'm not. It would be interesting to have actually both of them on at the same time, wouldn't it?
No, I don't deal well with tension like that. It's not my bag.
Well, so far I'm liking our episode in that Rich has been busting our. Well, I'm going to say our balls, probably more my balls, but Rich has been busting our balls lately, saying that we're the only bike podcast that doesn't talk about bikes. We've been talking about bikes this time a little bit.
I try to talk about bikes. Hey, speaking of, how long are you going to be in Florida? Do you know?
Not exactly certain yet.
You,
Still, it's kind of a day by day thing.
um, you need to reach out to my buddy Carlos while you're down there. I tried to make a connection through Facebook
It
Messenger when
wouldn't
you
let me.
thought you were going down there.
It wouldn't let me do that because we weren't already friends, so it wouldn't let me connect with him. It was a weird thing.
Okay, I'll reach out to him and get his contact, and then share it with you, and you can reach out to him if you don't, if that works for you. Um,
Potentially,
but
we'll
I
see.
mean, he's a long course organizer down there in Florida, and puts on a lot of really cool events. I have not done any of them, obviously, but he pioneered. I think his one of his bigger routes is Huracan, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Um, and I think it's a 300-mile single day event, and then he does a couple of other ones, but he does a lot of bike packing and such. And then I watched a couple of his videos, and Florida is the one place, especially after watching a couple of his videos, where I could be seriously interested in doing some bike rafting or bike. What do they call it?
I think it's bike rafting. Yeah,
There's some. It's something called something else, I
is
think.
it?
But I watched a video of his where, they get to, because there's so much water in Florida, they get to a point where he's like, we could go around and it would be, I can't remember how far, like 70 miles, and so we can paddle 2 miles and we're where we need to be. So I'm like, pack rafting. That's what it's
Pack
called.
rafting. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Um, and I was like, okay, now that makes sense. Um, but I was intrigued by it. If I would live in Florida, that was the deal.
I have
Um,
zero interest in that one. That there's no appeal to me in the slightest for pack
yeah.
rafting. But
How far are you from the Everglades?
oh,
Is the Everglades like?
I'm forever from the Everglades here, but
Okay.
I'm pretty close to the Okefenokee Swamp up here.
Okay. As I just listened to a podcast with the Python Cowboy down there in Florida.
That can go a
He's
lot
like
of different directions.
it's true. That's why I was gonna establish he is not a porn star. um, he's one of the guys that's there hunting and trying to rein back in the population of all
Right.
the pythons. And he's also on the iguana front too. Apparently, iguanas are a huge burden down there as well because they don't have any natural
Yeah,
predators
they don't
either,
have any predators.
and they just get gigantic. Apparently, he said they get up to like 6 feet long. I didn't know iguanas got that big, and he's using dogs to hunt pythons, which I thought was interesting.
We've got
So,
we've got a monkey problem here too. My brother built a house a few years back, and he they were having issues with the pack of monkeys uh, that that didn't
what kind
like
of
them.
monkeys?
That
They
I don't know.
oh,
But
hmm,
my guess, so he was closer to the, he is. He built his house closer to the Ocala area. My guess
mm-hmm,
is there's some escapees from the old Silver Springs that uh, have
hmm,
started to expand their domain throughout that area. But yeah, monkeys, iguanas, pythons, and that's on top of the alligators we already had here. I guess
yeah.
crocodiles are now a thing in Florida too,
What?
evidently.
I did not know that. I didn't think crocodiles were anywhere in the United States except for in captivity.
Well, but neither were pythons and iguanas and monkeys and things.
Very fair point. Sorry, forgot. Florida's its own country. They do whatever the hell they want.
And
Jeez.
there's definitely a difference between South Florida and up here in North Florida. This
Yeah.
is really South Georgia up this way, and
Yeah.
that area I was talking about. My brother uh, built his house down around Ocala. That's kind of the transition zone. Orlando to Ocala is the
Yeah.
transition
Have you have you ever ridden the Monkey Trail in Shreveport?
I have not.
Speaking of monkeys, that it's a it's a retirement community for monkeys. Apparently, is right near the trail. So they have howler monkeys there, and so you're riding that trail. First of all, that trail is a really cool trail. I haven't ridden it in years, so I don't know what the how maintained it is at this point. But you go through. It has a bunch of climbing, especially for Louisiana. But what's really wild is you go through a complete transition where at the beginning and through various parts you're riding in typical like East Texas, West Louisiana kind of tall pines, pine straw, you know, and then you get to this point in the trail and it's like all the flora and fauna just changes and it goes like tropical, and then you can hear these howler monkeys, and it's almost unsettling sometimes. But you never see them. But
You just hear them
it's
howling.
yes, and it's pretty wild, and that's why they call it the Monkey Trail, obviously. But it's a really good trail. If you're in that area, you should check it out.
Well,
Shreveport actually has.
I'm going to wait till the heat index is less than 115 degrees,
That's fair.
particularly. Now, I am gonna throw the brakes on Rich. I think the only Wes Anderson movie I haven't cared for, and I've tried to push through it several times, is Bottle Rocket. I just can't do Bottle Rocket, and everybody in North Texas is just, that's like,
Those are fighting words.
exactly, exactly.
Dude, it's literally the first movie I think I ever quoted. Um, when that scene where he pulls up in that banana suit on that bike, and that the redneck guy goes, "Where are you from, boy?" And he goes, "Around here." I just thought that was so good.
I
I've used that numerous times
Okay. I'm not knocking Bottle Rocket. I'm just
for
saying
my own amusement,
it's
obviously,
just
because
it's
nobody ever
just
gets
never.
it.
I've never been able to push through that one. That's up there with Boondock Saints for me. I can't do Boondock Saints. I think that's one of the most overrated movies out there as well. But
Kevin, I think we're gonna have to break up.
no,
I
no,
don't know if I can deal with Boondock Saints is
it's terrible.
crazy good.
It's terrible. The acting is horrible. The production value is horrible. The premise is
That's
good.
part that's part of what makes it so good. It's got that Sharknado quality to it.
No, because Sharknado was a satire. Boondock Saints is not a satire.
It's not, but it's I don't know. I think it's greatness. But
I understand that.
now Boondock Saints 2, not so much. Um, but
Well,
can't
along
blame
the
them
lines
for
of Asteroid
trying.
City, I am going to tell you this: when you do watch it, okay,
Hmm.
it was in that in that Wes Anderson world. This one was definitely different for me. It's very much a Wes. You're looking at it as just it screams Wes Anderson. No ifs, ands, or
Yeah.
buts. But it is a different structure. It is a different.
Storytelling style.
Yeah, it's convoluted. It made my brain hurt while I'm watching it, and while I'm watching it, I'm thinking, I don't, I don't think I like this. But it's one of those as you go deeper into it, and stuff you thought you didn't like kind of comes back around and makes another piece of the puzzle. It ultimately it made my brain hurt, but in a good way. So it's a different movie. It is not Moonrise Kingdom. It is not Royal Tenenbaums. Uh, but
What about Jarling the Jarling
Jarling,
Limited?
that's
Limited.
probably my least favorite one personally.
Okay.
I don't say I don't like it. but it's probably my least. Well, second to Bottle Rocket. Bottle Rocket, I just don't like. Everything else I like to varying degrees of his.
Well, I mean, Bottle Rocket was before he found his own like fingerprint.
No, I
But
get that. It was his.
yeah,
It was his first movie, and
his freshman attempt, if you will.
yes.
But he's also responsible for blowing up Luke and Owen Wilson.
Well, no doubt about that.
You
No
know,
doubt about
eh,
that.
in Bottle Rocket. So um, hmm.
But
I'll watch Asteroid City when you watch They Cloned Tyrone.
okay. Well, it's on my to-do list, and I should be rotating back to a Netflix subscription here shortly. Because, yeah, my Apple TV just rolled off, so I will probably go back to Netflix for a month or two.
Next time Jan's out of town and you're looking for a mandate, you can come over here and we can have some nachos or something, and we can watch They Clone Tyrone here. I'll host.
We could record a Sharknado episode.
I'm totally in. Such a good movie. I'm so
Oh,
hyped on it. I'm excited to watch it again.
okay.
Literally.
Well, and so we'll do some Montucky beer, too.
Oh, how fitting. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm in.
All
Say
right.
when.
Anything else we need to talk about this week?
I do want to talk more about our adventure to Big Bend after talking with Caleb yesterday, but I imagine that's something we want to do as a sidebar because I want more details. I'm so excited. But
Well, let's wrap it. Okay, let's. I mean, is this like 5 minutes of sidebar, 10 minutes of sidebar, an hour of sidebar?
I don't know. I it really would necessitate like looking at maps and stuff,
Oh, okay. All
So,
right.
um,
Well, all right. Just for the audience teaser that might be out there, what was your big question that just could be verbally addressed as opposed to having to look at maps or?
um, so Caleb was trying to explain to me we camp at Little Burrow. Is that right?
Near it's Jackass Flats, but yeah, near Littleboro
Jackass Flats. Okay.
Country
Well,
Store.
he said last year you guys camped behind Little Burrow, like behind the pens, the horse pens or whatever, cow pens or cattle pens or whatever.
Well, I mean that's the main staging area. So that's the
Yeah.
Friday night
Okay.
camping and Sunday night camping.
Okay. Um, and then drive into the park from there or ride from there.
You ride from there.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
I don't know.
And
Those are
we don't go
questions.
into the park.
Okay.
We don't do the
All right.
we don't do the park at all
Okay. And is there a reason that we don't go into the park? Or
because it's a long way away,
that's fair.
and we don't have to deal with park guidelines and permits
That's
and
fair.
all of that good stuff. And there's a lot of cool stuff to be seen outside the park as well.
That's fair.
And there's water
I'm
and
excited
showers and stuff
either
like
way.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm excited either way.
this is not a Big Bend National Park. We have Big Bend National Park trips we do as well, but
Yeah.
that's a different thing. That's a different thing.
All right. Well, did you bring a bike with you to Florida?
I did not. I was planning to, and then when I looked at the weather forecast out here and saw that it was never going to be under 110 degrees heat index with this humidity, it's like the bike's going to stay at home. So,
What is the temperature projected to be there today?
well, I think the last I saw, we were going to have like another 112 heat index day here, something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
rough. And you're not like southern Florida where you get rain like every day
They've been dry
up
the
there.
past week or two here. Like I said, a shower blew through yesterday, and everybody rejoiced, sort of thing.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
normal, yeah, I mean the normal pattern is showers every day at 3 o'clock ish,
Yeah.
but that hasn't been going on lately.
So before we close too, for my own
Sure.
appease my own curiosity.
Sure.
You said you went grocery shopping the other day or yesterday or
Yesterday.
whatever it was,
Yesterday.
and you said when the rain came through, you were busy cooking.
Mm-hmm.
What what was Kevin cooking?
Enchiladas.
Okay. Okay.
Enchiladas, and some jazzed up ranch style beans to go with some yellow rice, sort of thing. Working mostly with the stuff that was already in the pantry here, but had to grab a few odds and ends.
I like cooking like that.
I do too. And
Pantry foraging.
last I heard, Dad, the enchiladas were a thumbs up yesterday.
Oh, yeah, they're excellent.
There we go.
Good deal.
So
Good deal. Well, all right. Well, is there any bike shops near you?
no
Where you
idea,
are?
no idea.
Is there a decent cycling community there? Is there any cycling infrastructure?
Um,
Bike lanes,
no.
trails?
There's a nature preserve a few miles east of here on the other side of the intercoastal that has some sort of fire roads, jeep roads, not single track, more gravel-ish that I think some of the local gravel riders play with, but I'm not up to speed with the local gravel scene yet. That was the intent originally, but like I said, with 115 degree heat, 98%
Yeah,
humidity, Kevin ain't doing this shit.
yeah, I get it. Is that area structured around golf carts?
This particular area, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it's
see
not a
some-
retirement community, but
Sure.
it's the Florida living. It's the opposite of a retirement community here. There's rugrats
Yeah.
everywhere, but the rugrats are driving the golf carts.
Yeah, because Paula's dad lived in Sun City Center,
Yep.
Brandon area,
Yep.
and that was like it was amazed me how golf cart centric it was. Like all the paths and I mean the infrastructure was insane, and then the parking spots at all the places had golf parking spots.
Yeah,
Golf cart
yeah.
parking.
It would be no big deal to hop on a bike and ride around here on all the paths and everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've done that before, and it's not a bad way to get an hour's of ride worth of riding
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
But it's not an adventure by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I mean it's an adventure only because you don't know where you're going.
Basically,
But yeah.
basically.
All right. Well, guess that's all I have.
Is that all you have? Yeah.
I think so.
I think my
sure
folks
as
are
soon
ready
as-
to do their lunch, so they're
Yeah.
they're waiting on me. So let's go
Oh,
ahead
okay.
and roll out. I mean, we've got an hour and 20 minutes into this, and I'm only going to have to edit out like 3 or 4 seconds. It seems like.
You dirty dog.
Out.
All right. Later.